So Harry, when you turned up here, this didn't look like it does now, does it? It was...
Not remotely, no. So this is our racing room with all the racing tack and bits and bobs. And just here, where our tack room is, was just footings. Like, there wasn't even walls, but there were footings there. All of this was basically falling down, and this was in a terrible state. The feed house, which is in the corner there, basically it just all had Harris fencing around it. I think there's been winners out of all of these stables, which is good. That's the key. So some stables in my yard that hasn't been winners out of yet.
Really?
I don't like that. I'm sure it's nothing to do with anything other than the horses that are in them. With this yard, I don't think it'll be finished in 5 years' time. I suspect I'll still be trying to tinker and make things better then. But I think, you look at all the top yards. Gordon Elliott's is a relevant example because his was built from just a falling down farm, and you read now all of the amazing winners he's had, he's still making it better, he's still trying to improve facilities, and I read about that, and Dan Skelton's is a purpose-built yard. Like, there's lots of places that are like that, and even after their phenomenal success they've had, they're still trying to make it better. So this place is way better than it was. But I want people to come here in 5 years' time and go, God, wow, look at all the stuff they've done. And I wouldn't say frustration, but the thing that I'm eager to do is make it better, because you want to do it all now. And if I won the Euro Millions, my God, there'd be some diggers here in the summer.
So there's been plenty of development to these barns. These were originally here when you first started training, but you've added this barn completely new last summer. Yeah. So how many boxes did you expand by last year?
There's 20 new ones there. As you rightly say, that was the sort of original barn that we had at the start. 44 stables in there, row of 12, row of 10, row of 10, row of 12. Works really well. Took a bit of the timber out at the top in the summer. Might make absolutely no difference at all, but
it's fine margins.
My vet has got me really into airflow and just yard health, basically. Clearly, every yard is worried about that, but Andy has really got me on top of that and just not being blasé about anything in terms of that. And his theory is there is as much airflow above them as you possibly can, and so we just took out those panels just to try and get a bit more air through the barn. As I say, it might not make any difference, but it's 1%ers that you can try and make better. And then new barn, it's got 20 stables, 10 either side. They back onto one another, lots of airflow. I've been really pleased with it. The horses settle in there. It's a little bit breezier than the barn. All the mares are generally in the barn, and it's just a little bit warmer.
Okay.
Whether that makes any difference, I don't know. It's just mine and Graham's theory that we were just like having them in there, and it has worked, in fairness. But it's a really nice barn, and I hope to eventually have more of those types of stables, because they've got great airflow in the front. They can see out of them. Just think they work really well. They're very, very simple. I don't have automatic drinkers. I always have water buckets, because I like to know if a horse hasn't drunk overnight. I'd like to know rather than not. So, but the yard is now got 78 stables. I hope that in time our capacity will increase. But I still have to remind myself that's a lot of horses. What I'm trying to create is an environment where a horse can reach his best or her best, and I like the horses to be nice and calm in their stables. I like them to have plenty of shavings to lie on. That comes from being in Ditchit for lots and lots of years, and Paul always telling me how bad my mucking out was, and in the end he got me quite good at it. But I like them to have plenty of bedding so there's no draft underneath them. That side of things doesn't get talked about very often, but it's very important, the horse care management side of things. The way they're getting mucked out, making sure their mangers are immaculate every day, their water buckets are immaculate every day. All of that stuff is a big contributing factor to the health of the yard.
Harry, in your mind, how important is turnout for horses?
I think for some horses, not remotely, and I think for others, very. It wasn't something that I used in my training techniques at the start, mainly because working at Ditchit, I never really did. Obviously, they have a good old turnout in the summer, and sort of try and have 12 weeks if they can, between 10 and 12 weeks. But when I started, I had these 6 little paddocks built, which I've always been a regular user of, but I'm actually turning more and more out.
Okay.
that's results driven. Some of the horses that I have sort of been regularly in Turnout have been performing well, and it's just a feeling. Like, why are you stood in your stable scowling and grumpy with your ears back? Why didn't I just turn you out with one other? So I use it for a number of reasons. Some of those fillies that could be a bit grumpy. If I've got a horse who I think is a bit stiff, well, maybe he's better wandering about for the morning, just keeping on the move. Queen's Gamble had some colic surgery in the summer, and the vets who cared for her said that she needs grass every day in her diet, so she has 3 or 4 hours out in the morning to help that. But I think in a busy racing yard it's a faff, like putting horses different, changing all their rugs, taking them all out to the field, picking their feet out after, like it takes up 10 more minutes of your day in an already busy day. But I'm doing it a lot more because I'm seeing results.
The lunging pit behind us, Harry, how often do you use that? What do you use it for specifically? I mean, it might be in the name, but just expand a little bit on that.
This was born out of every summer in Ditchit I was responsible for getting the riders on the horses for the first time of the season, and some horses fantastic, no issue at all. Others have a buck and a plunge and a go, because what they'll do is they'll have 3 months off and they forget what a girth is like around them. It gets a bit tighter, they have a buck and someone falls off, and all of a sudden you're trying to chase a horse. And we always did that in Paul's Arena, which was fine. It was enclosed but still quite big. And when I started, I said to myself, right, I want a lunge pit like that, deep sand. And we basically use that for the first 2 days of every horse's season. Once the horse has done 3 or 4 laps, he's quite tired because he's unfit and the sand is doing the work. So all of a sudden, after 2 days, the horse is behaving itself, it's following the one in front, it's had a trot round, it's used to a girth, it's used to a rider, used to someone putting its leg on, and on the 3rd day you go on, you get it on in there, and you go and ride them out.
This area has changed quite a fair bit since you were here at the beginning. Talk us through the changes that you've made over the last few years here.
So it started with just a wood chip track around the outside. It's now, that's an all-weather track, which we basically use for walking around now. This wood chip area here in the middle is just a collecting area. They come out here, all collect in there, and then they go for a warm-up on what is our most recent addition this summer, is our deep sand track, which is not that far round, just about 380 metres round, obviously deep sand. And I've been delighted with it. Like at the start of the season, they just come in here, have a little trot round, don't do masses, and they build up. And they sort of all did 6 weeks on this before they went on to the hill gallop. I think lots of people use deep sand gallops for all different reasons. The thing I like about it the most is it relaxes horses. They don't really pull on it. You very, very rarely see a keen horse on it. And what I love about that is then that translates. So when they get onto the gallop, they're nice and relaxed. And I think jump horses, if they're going to be any good at all, they need to just be chilled out. And round here, they just hunt away quietly with their heads down. They're not overdoing things. You know, for horses that are just starting back up in work, they might do 3 trots each way and that'll be it. At the moment, we're using it for warming up. So every day they'll do a bit of trotting and then a bit of cantering before going on to the gallop. A bit more on a Saturday on a work morning.
So this arena has been here since day one, Harry.
Absolutely.
Obviously always something that you thought you needed here.
Yeah.
What is it about the arena here that you find beneficial?
The main thing is, it's a safe environment where you can do lots of jumping but you don't have to cover much ground. So all of the horses that we start off jumping start in here.
Okay.
And they might jump some poles and some barrels. These are basically big drain pipes, which I thought would work well, and they do. So what you try and do is always get a lead horse with a group of youngsters, just get them going first, get them going forwards, not really too worried about how it looks at the start. You just want them to be willing enough to go, get their confidence up. Some of them immediately go, you're going to be really good. You know, I mean, Give Me 5, for example. The moment we first jumped him, he just was very natural. Aviemore, who won 2 juvenile hurdles when we started jumping, was terrible. And so you have to work with lots of different horses, but one thing that I always have found is this little baby hurdle that we use here. Once they're confident enough to jump that, they'll jump the bigger hurdles. And I don't know why, but it seems to not fail. And this hurdle was in Ditchit a long time ago. Dan Skelton designed it with Jump for Joy, because his theory was they had bigger hurdles that they were struggling to get.
And would these be the bigger ones here?
Yeah, that's it. And the ones at Paul's were a bit more sturdy, a bit more permanent. These ones we could lift on and off, which help. But Dan's theory was he couldn't quite get the babies over those hurdles straight away, so he made an intermediate hurdle, and that was my leaving gift. But it works really well, because the moment they're confident enough to go over that little brush hurdle, they'll always jump the bigger ones. I don't know why, but it does seem to work. And then they'll graduate onto these sort of French style fixed brush hurdles with some barrels in front of them.
So you've got 2 schooling lanes, hurdles here, fences there. Talk us through how often you use these, because it's an amazing facility to have.
Yeah, so the autumn we use them a lot. Like to get all the novice hurdlers out here before they run, obviously the novice chasers too. I just love schooling on grass. I think it's such a good experience for the horses. I think they behave differently. It's a bit more open than schooling on an all-weather schooling lane.
And it's on an incline as well.
Yeah, and I've always thought that if you were going to design a schooling ground, you'd design the Exeter home straight, because it's just gently on an incline. Horses tend not to do too many stupid things if they're just going up a hill. This is a lovely gradient, nice soft ground. And yeah, as I say, most of them will do 2 sessions out here before they run. If they're very, very good after one, they might not do another one. But I love getting them out here. And I actually find, in terms of my training, I find it easiest to gauge a horse's ability watching them jump. Watching a horse gallop, I think you can be lulled into thinking an ordinary one's better than it is. But jumping is, in my opinion, where you can get a real good gauge of ability.
So come across to the schooling lane with the fences on, but it's interesting because you've got as you said, a fixed brush here and then 2 fences. Talk us through the logic behind that.
Just gets them going. So I think this is like a really good graduation from a hurdle to a fence. It's about the hurdle height, a bit more sturdy, a little bit wider.
Yeah.
So I always think these are fantastic for horses that are going to go chasing to jump them over this. So generally, once they've jumped up over this one, they'll go and jump the 2 fences fine. You're not trying to scare horses schooling them, you're trying to give them lots of confidence. And this one, they'll just ping up over this and they'll go on, hopefully jump the 2 fences well.
How many times would they come up here?
Generally 3.
Okay.
Like if one was going to run in the next 10 days and he jumped up there twice and was very happy, then maybe it wouldn't go again. But I like to just let them have a bowl up here 3 times. Good fitness as well, you know, they can have a good blow and a sweat. But yeah, they jump up 3 times, unless, you know, something goes wrong or something goes very right and Paul says, look, we don't need to do this again. Well, we won't, but 3 is the sort of baseline.
How close to a run would you school a horse?
Ideally the week before.
Okay.
Now, if one is been pretty novice-y and I want to get them really sharp in their mind, I might do it 2 days before. And some horses, handicappers, once they've had a school at the start of the season, then run, I probably wouldn't school them again. It really depends on horse, and that's the case with all the training. You know, you're trying to do what suits each horse, but you know, particularly if a horse is going for an important target, I'd much rather them school them 10 days out than 2 days out, because 10 days out, if they stand on the bulb of their heel or they have a little overreach, well, that's not a disaster. 2 days out, that's game over. So yeah, you just try and do it tailored to each horse, really.
On the Gallop now, Harry, and this has obviously been well documented, as you say, but it's changed quite remarkably over the last couple of years, gone from wood chip to now, what is it, an all-weather surface?
Equestrian surface, yeah, it's from equestrian surfaces. And this surface now is between 7.5 and 9 inches of all-weather surface. It rides like good to soft ground, no softer than that. We power harrow it twice a week, which basically breaks up the compaction on the Gallop that 70 horses do. And then between each lot we just Gallop master it. But I'm very pleased with the Gallop itself. It's 6 furlongs long, rises 44 metres from bottom to top. And it's just gently on the collar the whole way. It's never completely taken their breath away, but they always have a good blow. pretty routine morning here would be doing 2 canters. And you know, on a work morning they'll come a little bit stronger first time and then do a nice piece of work second. But it's one of the things that I think has really changed my routine this year is having the AstroTurf and tarmac walk back track back down the Gallop, because last year they were walking back down the Gallop, which we've always done, and what was happening with this surface in particular was it was just compacting too much. So come the second canter, once there'd been quite a bit of equine traffic on it was becoming quite compact, whereas now the horses are cantering up in smaller groups, which helps me because I could see them better, and then they're walking down safely down the track next to it. And that for me, whilst it's very unexciting, an AstroTurf track with tarmac underneath has been a real game changer. And you know, because last season at the top of the Gallop there were 20 horses, they'd all walk down together. Now I can split them up depending on what they're doing, where they are with their training. If I want 2 horses to go together, I'll send them off together. If I've got a busy horse who doesn't like waiting for the string, he'd go off on his own. If I've got one who's going a bit steadier, or a group of 3 horses that ran 2 days ago, okay, well they're not going to do so much, so you wait here and go down after. And that really has helped me sort of tailor the training to make it even more specific for each horse. I think that's a massive bonus. Generally I stand with about 1.5 furlongs to run, but I like to stand here if I'm really trying to find out about how one is, because this will tell me they'll get up to the top, have a little jog round and then a walk, and then how much is he or she blowing? Does he recover very quickly? Is he completely out on his feet? So this tells me a lot. And when they come back from Gallop into trot and then eventually into walk, is their breathing good? Are they gasping for air? Are they making a bit of a noise when they relax? Are they flipping their palate? This, you know, if I'm stood up here and they've done a real strong piece of work and they clear pretty quickly, I'm happy. Okay, you're fine, you can go racing.
Would you say that this has been the biggest change to your training technique since you started?
Yeah, for sure. I think when you've had a few winners, and I've not had loads, but I've had a few now to give you some confidence, you learn to trust the horses a bit more. Because at the end of the day, a horse only has a certain capacity to get fit. You can't get him fitter than 100% fit, it's not possible. And I think what happens once you've had a bit of success and you get to know your Gallop and you get to know training, you end up saying, I know you're fit. I don't need you to tell me you're fit again. Or I know you're good. I don't need you to show me 3 times a week. And I think when you're starting out, you're so keen to just make sure, and you don't trust your horses as much as you could. But once you've had a little bit of success, and particularly when your horses are in good form, when they're running well for a period of time, it just gives you that bit of faith. Just trust them. And actually, we won't do that last Gallop because I know you're fit. And I've actually brought my final pieces of work back more now, so they'd have a greater run-off period into their races, just because, as I say, you can only get a horse so fit. You know, clearly the conditioning work at the start of the season is vitally important, but if 2 days out from a race you're trying to give a horse a piece of work to increase his fitness, he's not ready to run. So
how many days would you wait now?
I might work them a week out now, and they might have just a little half speed for a furlong a couple of days before they run, just to clear themselves out. But I before I'd have been 2 days out. We'll just make sure.
I don't think it's probably asked enough, but like, how much are you just enjoying this whole process?
Training.
The evolvement of the yard and the developments of the facilities and just the overall training experience.
So the development of things, I take an enormous amount of pride in, but I probably don't stop that often to think about it. The day-to-day training I adore. I absolutely adore it, and I probably like it more than I thought I would. The race meetings, the afternoons come with stress, pressure, disappointment, and if it goes well, relief. But the joy of my job comes in the mornings, of dealing with the horses, watching one progress, 10 days out from a run, watching one just blossom and think, you're getting there now. I love nothing more than a week out from a run, doing a piece of work and thinking, yeah, you're right where you need to be. That's where the joy comes from. And to get one win from horse from field, fat, happy, no shoes on, long ragged mane, to fully fit, healthy, in good shape, willing to listen to its rider, to get all of that right there's so much that goes into it, and it's so rewarding when it happens, and that's the joy of it. The horses bit is where the real joy is.